The Denver Nuggets have finished ninth in the Western Conference for the last 2 years. However, they did win 46 games this year and are one of the best young teams in the NBA. A big reason they didn't finish better is because Paul Millsap only played 38 games when he was given a 3-year, $90 million deal. He was supposed to come in and be the veteran the Nuggets needed to get over the hump and finally make the playoffs. The Nuggets have a great young core with Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, Nikola Jokic, Trey Lyles, Juan Hernan-Gomez, and Malik Beasley. All of those players are 23 years old or younger, which means they are still about 4 or 5 years away from their primes. The Nuggets do still, however, have a difficult offseason ahead of them. For starters, one of their key players, Will Barton, is a free agent and recently turned down a 4-year, $42 million extension at the beginning of the season. They also need to get an extension done with Jokic soon, and this will likely be their one shot at landing big-name free agents until they exceed the cap limit even more. They have been consistently linked to big-name point guards like Kyrie Irving, Eric Bledsoe, and now Kemba Walker, but the Nuggets have always been reluctant to give up Jamal Murray or Gary Harris in the deal. They also could trade some of their younger bench players like Trey Lyles, Juan Hernan-Gomez, or Malik Beasley, who all have potential, in order to get better soon and acquire some veterans. They also have to decide what to do with Kenneth Faried, as he is only 28 years old and should be in the prime of his career, but only played 32 games this year with no injuries because he isn't mobile enough to guard today's power forwards, isn't big enough to guard today's centers, isn't that good of a rebounder, and also cannot space the floor at all. The Denver Nuggets' best free agent is Will Barton. Barton averaged 16 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists on 45% shooting from the field and 37% shooting from 3 last year. He was also a pretty average defender. Barton is just entering the prime of his career as he is just 27 years old. He's already one of the better sixth men in the league, and as Eric Gordon and Lou Will age, he could be in the discussion for sixth man of the year in the future, provided he keeps putting up these stats. Now, Barton did turn down a 4-year, $42 million extension from the Nuggets in October, which does complicate things quite a bit. Now, Barton has said that he wants to be a starter, but in Denver, he doesn't start unless there's an injury, in which case he starts no matter what. If Murray gets injured, he'll play point guard. If Harris gets injured, he'll play shooting guard. If Chandler gets injured, he'll play small forward. And if Millsap or Jokic get injured, then he'll play small forward and Chandler slides down to the 4. Now, Will Barton played 33 minutes last year for the Denver Nuggets, the second highest on the team. So he plays the same minutes as a starter, so I think he'll come around and realize that he's in a pretty good situation in Denver. The Nuggets have also said that they would love to bring him back, as he is an integral part of their system. I don't think the Nuggets would want to overpay, though, as they still have Jamal Murray, Malik Beasley, Trey Lyles, and Nikola Jokic on their rookie contracts, and all of them are due for an extension within the next 2 years. I think they're going to offer Barton a pretty similar contract to the one they offered last October, something around 4 years, $45 million to 4 years, $50 million. Now, the Suns and Pacers are two teams that could make aggressive pushes at them, as each team has cap space and could use his services. I would expect them to offer around 4 years, $50 million to 4 years, $55 million. However, they really wouldn't be able to offer him a starting role. On the Pacers, his minutes would likely reduce, playing behind Victor Oladipo and Darren Collison. And on the Suns, he could start at point guard, but I don't really think the Suns would be comfortable playing him as their starting point guard for the whole season. They would probably keep him on the bench behind Devin Booker, and he would also likely see a decrease in minutes. I think he'll take a bit of a pay cut to stay with the Nuggets on a deal worth about 4 years, something around $48 million. The other two free agents are Devin Harris and Richard Jefferson. As for Devin Harris, he still lives in Dallas and is likely to return to the Mavs next season for the minimum. I don't think the Nuggets will want to waste any money on him, as they need to save every cent. Richard Jefferson has been hinting at retirement himself, and I would expect him to call it quits after this offseason. He's already been in the booth in some NBA talk shows and is likely to get a job there soon. If he does indeed stay in the league, I could see him re-signing with the Nets or going to whatever team Channing Frye goes to, as they share a podcast together. Similarly with Devin Harris, I don't think the Nuggets would want to spend any money on Jefferson, so I think they're both gone. Now, the Denver Nuggets also have the 14th pick in the 2018 NBA draft, but as of recording this, it is still unclear what they will do with it. They could go in a few different directions with this pick. They could take the best player available, take a player that fits a position of need, or trade this pick for a proven veteran. I will be detailing each option from worst to best. Now, the worst option here, in my opinion, is to trade this pick for a proven veteran. There are a few people they could try and trade for, the first being Kemba Walker. The first trade would be Kemba Walker in the 55th pick in the NBA draft to the Nuggets for the 14th pick in the draft, Wilson Chandler, Jamal Murray, and a trade player exception. Now, this is the worst out of the three trades I'm going to present, as Jamal Murray probably has the potential to be better than Kemba Walker, and they're giving up the 14th pick as well, who also could be a pretty solid role player. Now, the second trade would be Kemba Walker to the Nuggets for the 14th pick in the draft, Will Barton, who is signed to a 4-year, $48 million contract, and Washington's 2019 second round pick. This is definitely the best out of the three, as Will Barton is certainly not on Kemba's level by any means, and likely will never be on Kemba's level, and neither will the 14th pick. Now, the third trade is Kemba Walker and Jeremy Lamb to the Nuggets for the 14th pick in the draft, Gary Harris, Juan Hernangomez, and Washington's 2019 second round pick. This is the second best trade in my opinion, as Gary Harris doesn't have as much potential as Jamal Murray, but he is better than Will Barton. But they are giving up Juan Hernangomez, but they are getting back Jeremy Lamb. Now, the next best thing to do with the 14th pick, in my opinion, is to take the best player available. This option isn't that bad, but it does have its flaws. The Nuggets are stacked at the guard position with Jamal Murray, Will Barton, Gary Harris, and Malik Beasley. Murray, Barton, and Harris are all worthy of a starting position, and Beasley is a solid backup. They also have a lot of bigs with Nikola Jokic, Paul Millsap, Mason Plumlee, Trey Lyles, Juan Hernangomez, Tyler Lydon, and even Fareed if worst comes to worst. Now, if they take the best player available, and he is a guard or a big, there would be an even bigger logjam at these positions. Some players that could be available are gilgeous-alexander or Robert Williams. While these players may be better than the best wing available, they wouldn't be doing too much as their positions are already filled. Now, the best option, in my opinion, is definitely to draft a player in position of need. I would expect them to take Kevin Knox with this pick, and if he isn't available, Zaire Smith or maybe even Chandler Hutchinson, although that may be a bit of a reach. The Nuggets have a glaring hole at the wing position. They have Wilson Chandler currently as their only primary wing. They experimented last season with Gary Harris and Will Barton, but neither of them are big enough, with Harris being only 6'4" and 210 pounds, and Barton being a bit taller at 6'6", but a lot lighter at 175. Any of the prospects I mentioned would make an immediate impact and likely be the backup from day one. Now, Wilson Chandler also does have a player option this offseason, but with the option set at almost $13 million, he's almost guaranteed to accept it. However, he has no contract after the next season, which would leave a massive hole at the wing position unless they draft one right now. Now, the Nuggets could also try to sign a free agent or two to help fill out the roster. Right now, before the draft, they have a glaring hole at small forward and a minor hole at point guard. If they draft a small forward like Kevin Knox, they will be fine as long as Wilson Chandler accepts this player option. They do, however, need a backup point guard pretty badly, though. They've been linked to Isaiah Thomas as free agency, but I really don't see them signing him. Currently, they are $6 million over the cap limit, so they would have to trade Kenneth Faried and Darrell Arthur, which would free up an extra $21 million, to bring their cap space up to $15 million. Now, I could very well see Isaiah signing for about $10 to $15 million. However, to trade Faried and Arthur to create the cap space, the Nuggets would likely have to attach multiple second-round picks and maybe even a first. The Suns could take Faried and receive a few second-round picks, as not only do they have the cap space, but they need the front court help, even if they draft Ayton. The Kings could take a second-round pick for Darrell Arthur, as the Kings also have cap space, and Arthur could help mentor Labissiere as he develops. Thank you guys for making it to the end of the video. Leave a like if you've enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new, and comment down below what you think the Denver Nuggets should be doing this upcoming offseason.